Yeah, that's all it
Well, that's true. It's true.
things like that.
Well, it just looks like there's a lot of. I mean, this
And we've got some great stories in here
But there was no.
Good evening. Hello. Oh, good evening.
Good evening.
I am Judy Bailey Ogle, and on behalf of the Friends of the Seymour Library, we welcome you to our first session of Seymour Summer Sounds. And we are so excited to have Boogertown Gap with us. My mother grew up in Boogertown. So my grandparents' farm is still there. It's now the Wilson Glen Christmas tree farm. But I need to tell you about some things that are coming up. We have several things coming up, and there's information over there. And of course, we have from the mouth of Boyd's Creek for sale. And then I think Ruth and Heath has some things for sale too. But the thing that's coming up most recently is Sunday, June 23rd at 4, we're going to have our map launch. This map was made so it goes along with the mouth of the Seymour. So you can read about it and then you can track it on the map. It is finally ready for sale. So we will see you hopefully on Sunday at 4 o'clock. Without further ado, let me present Boogertown Gap.
Thank you very much. We are going to start out with a tune, and then after that, we'll tell you a little bit more about us in Boogertown, but we just want to get you right into the feel of things with the kind of old-time music that we play. So here is an old mountain love tune that nobody knows when it was written, who wrote it, or it just got one of those tunes that gets transmitted down through the generations. It's called Fly Around My Pretty Little Miss. 4.
In the summertime, apples in the fall, blackbird and the girl I love, and we loving on. Fly around my pretty little miss, fly around my daisy, fly around my pretty little miss, you almost drive me crazy. It's so happy like a spring kicking on. Pretty little miss is staying while I'm leaving while I'm gone. Fly around my pretty little miss, fly around my daisy, fly around my pretty little miss, you always drive me crazy. Every time I go that road, so dark and cloudy. Every time I see that girl, I want to tell her howdy. Fly around my pretty little miss, fly around my daisy, fly around my pretty little miss, you always drive me crazy.
How is the music? Are the instruments loud enough? You can hear the instruments okay? Is it too loud?
The instruments are overpowering her voice.
Okay.
All right, that'll fix it.
Raise it up.
Raise it up, move it over.
Let us know what we need to adjust, because this is a really tight room. Probably has really good acoustics without the sound system, but sometimes Ruth's voice can't carry over
The banjo.
So, yeah. Well, that's not such a bad thing sometimes. Yeah. Anybody here besides you know where Boogertown is? Wow, how about that? That's great. Yeah. Well, for those of you who don't know, it's pretty much right in the geographic center of Sevier County. And it was settled by Revolutionary War soldiers from the state of North Carolina. We were in North Carolina at that time. And so their names were older, and they left and moved to eastern Indiana, but they left their name behind, and it's still on the map as Hold'em. But through lots of different stories about spooks and ghosts and the Booger Man, during the Civil War especially, the area became known as Boogertown. And that's where my dad's family moved in the mid-1800s, before the Civil War. And his generations preceding him grew up there. He was born there as well, and I was not. He left Sevier County to join the Air Force, and I ended up being in the Air Force for a long time. Every vacation we took was always back to Boogertown. So I'm Keith Watson from the Watsons of Boogertown. This is Ruth Barber of the Barbers from Knoxville. I kept my maiden name. And she's got quite a cool history of in Knoxville too, if you want to say anything about that.
My ancestors didn't come to Tennessee until the 1880s, and they were architects. And then the next few generations were architects. So if you've ever heard of George Barber houses or the Barber McMurray architectural firm, that is my ancestry. And they designed a lot of buildings in Knoxville, buildings at UT, homes, churches, businesses, and they designed the Park Service headquarters building, the Smokies headquarters building, among other things. So that's our history.
Yeah. So we only specialize in this really old music where nobody knows where it came from most of the time. But we also play a lot of tunes that were specifically written in the mid-1800s and the early 1900s for this style of music. So we'll let you know then if we know who wrote it. But this is just all the old tunes that came from Europe, especially the British Isles, the old ballads, old fiddle tunes and things like that. They got eventually moved over to banjo and other instruments. So just really, really old stuff. Everything we do is over 100 years old, most of it a couple. If something sounds familiar to you, good for you. Good stuff.
So this music was not a performer and audience music. It was sit around with your family, your community, your neighbors, and everybody participated. So we're going to ask you all to help us out with this one. Not everybody had a musical instrument, but everyone had a voice. And so that's how they would join in. So this is an old mountain love song. You've probably heard a more modern version of it as a lullaby. We're going to do the older version. And after each verse that I sing, you all sing, "Say, Darling, Say." And Keith will help me out.
Yeah, it's just 3 words. 2 of them are the same, so we think you can figure that out. Say, darling, say. 4.
Hush, little darling, don't say a word. I'm gonna buy you a mockingbird. Say, darling, say. If that mockingbird don't sing, I'm gonna buy you a diamond ring. Say, darling, say. If that diamond ring turns glass, I'm gonna buy you a looking glass. Say, darling, say. If that looking glass gets broke, I'm gonna buy you a billy goat. Say, darling, say. Say, little darling, would you be mine? All you got to do is start tonight. Say, darling, say. Start tonight and be your trade. I'd stay drunk and lay in the shade. Say, darling, say. You've got a banjo and I've got a ring. You pick a tune and I will sing. Say, darling, say. We'll make music like never before. We'll put the shame on the mockingbird. Say, darling, say. Hush, little darling, don't Goodbye, a mockingbird. Say your heart and say.
Thank you. Was the balance better this time? Okay, good. All right, so in these mountains, the stringed instruments were considered to be of the devil, so only the men got to play them. But the women weren't going to be left out, and they sang the old ballads. A woman might take her washboard out, put a sewing nibble on her finger, and tap out some rhythms. But there was one instrument in these mountains that was commonly called the devil's box. He's getting out his devil's box. So it was called the devil's box because the music coming from a fiddle made people want to dance, and dancing was a sin. So therefore, if you're playing fiddle music or you're dancing to it, then you must be being influenced by the devil, called the devil's box. But folks would put something inside their fiddle to keep the devil out. Does anybody know what that might be?
I have one in mind.
You don't have. That's my sister over there. Can you hear it rattling around in there? That was a hint. Rattlesnake.
Rattlesnake, yes.
That keeps the devil out. We don't know how that works, but
So far it's worked.
yeah.
Yeah, so far it's worked, right, yeah. So that let them keep on playing music without being the center, so.
At least in that department.
So I want to play a couple of fiddle tunes tonight, and it's gonna sound like mountain fiddling. This is not, like your polished fiddle players that you hear on stage around. I'm a self-taught fiddler, so you have to take that into account. But we're gonna play an old tune from the early 1800s that was in this sort of European group of Bonaparte's tunes. There's a lot of tunes written around Bonaparte, and this one is called Bonaparte's Retreat, an instrumental. Bonaparte
Crossing the Rhine.
See, I got a mistake. Oh. I love playing fiddle. So this is the same instrument as a violin, no difference. They're just set up a little bit differently, might be tuned a little bit differently, these are never cleaned up like violins. We always leave our rosin dust on the fiddle. In case we ever run out, we can stick our bow under here and just grab some more if we need to. But these days we can buy a little keg of rosin for a few bucks and it lasts a really long time.
Well, you know, that wasn't exactly a true story. There is a difference between a fiddle and a violin.
There is, that's right.
I'm going to tell you what it is. A violin has strings and a fiddle has strings.
That's right. So,
That's the only difference. So we're going to do a tune that was very commonly played during the Civil War. Parts of it actually go back to the Revolutionary War. And it's called Soldier's Joy, also known as Payday in the Army. And the old verses, most of which I don't sing, are about what a soldier did with his pay. And if you know anything about the camp followers, most of what their pay went to was drugs, alcohol, and women.
three essentials of life back then.
Right. When you're in a war zone.
Yeah.
And this tune has been used for a lot of movies, especially old Civil War movies, Westerns. Yeah, old movies and Westerns. So, ready?
Medium tempo or what do you want? Whatever.
You're the fiddler.
Boy, play a little tune called Soldier's Joy. I love somebody, yes I do. I love somebody, I love somebody, yes I do. I love somebody, and it might be you. Along comes chicken and says your mom's chicken. Picking out dough, ready to go right now. Ladies and gentlemen, just take the air. Hold you, don't let her in. Lord, take me away from here. I am a darling boy. I am a darling boy. Play a little tune called Soldier's Joy. Thank you. So this is really very informal, so if any of y'all have questions, please feel free to ask. If you have a request, like if you know some of this old music and there's a tune you'd like us to play, please write it on a $20 bill and send it up. We'll try our best. Yes, sir.
We're not hearing you, we're just hearing basically the instruments, so if you step a little closer to the mic, please.
Will do. So, like I said earlier, the stringed instruments were considered to be of the devil, so only the men got to play them. Well, there's another instrument the women might play, something that was carved out of wood by her husbands, right off the dinner table. It's called the spoons.
We're going to play a tune now called Fisher's Hornpipe. It comes from England in the late 1790s. So we know when this one was written, and it was used over there for the war marches and wedding marches. Not much different. But also, it's a very popular dance tune and still is today. So if you go to contra dances or square dances, you're more likely to hear this tune. Fisher's Hornpipe. Great.
Thank you. You have a nice thing to sing.
Yeah. Good thing the next tune's an instrumental.
I'm playing it. Okay.
I thought I figured you did. So like old-time traditional banjo players, when we change a musical key to a song or tune, we retune. And the basis for that is that banjos didn't have frets on them until the 1880s. So they were played by slaves, and then eventually white Americans in the early 1800s, around 1830s, as fretless instruments. So when they changed keys, they didn't have anywhere to put a capo on. They didn't know where. And if they did, they wouldn't know how to capo the fifth string up to the next key. So they just retune. And that's what I do because I like to stay traditional. Plus, it's a lot easier to play down here, and to me, it sounds a lot better as well. So we're tuning to a key called sawmill tuning now, which is, I don't know why they call it sawmill tuning.
It's A minor. Or A minor.
This is that sort of haunting sound that I think you often hear when people refer to mountain banjo. That's this tune. So this tune is called Elzig's Farewell, and it's named after a man named Harvey Elswick, who was a Kentucky fiddler whose mother lived in West Virginia, and after the Civil War, he learned that she was dying, so he traveled to West Virginia to be with her at her bedside while she was dying. And so he wrote this song for her as his farewell to her, and it got corrupted over time from Elswick's Farewell to Elzig's Farewell. So this is Elzig's Farewell. That's a pretty tuning, isn't it?
We kind of get lost in that too.
It's really good for sad songs. There's some happy ones to go with it. We're gonna do a happy one now.
Yeah, it's a silly song. So y'all know what it means when a chicken cackles, right? It means she laid an egg. So what happens when she doesn't cackle anymore?
She ain't laying no more eggs.
That's right. And what happens to her? She becomes dinner. That's right. Put her in the pot. So this is a song called Cluck Old Hen.
My old hen's a good old hen. She lays eggs for the railroad men. Sometimes 8, sometimes 10. That's enough for the railroad men. I'll call in, I can't see. You ain't laid eggs since way last spring. I'll call in, I can't squall. You ain't laid eggs since way last fall. I had a little hen, she had wooden leg, best darn hen that ever laid an egg. She laid 4 eggs in any hen round corn. Another drink of whiskey wouldn't do me any harm. Fuck old hen, I can't see. You ain't laid an egg since way last spring. Fuck old hen, I can't squall. You ain't laid an egg since way last fall. My old hen, she won't do. She lays eggs and taters too. First time she cackled in the lot. Next time she cackled in the pot. Fuck old hen, I can't see. You ain't laid an egg since way last spring. Fuck old hen, I can't squall. You ain't laid an egg since way last fall. I had a little hen, she wouldn't lay an egg. I poured hot water up and down her legs. Little chickie cried, little chickie prayed. Little chickie laid a hard boiled egg. Fuck all in, pluck and see. You ain't laid eggs in the way that's free. Fuck all in, pluck and shout. You can't lay an egg if you can't push it out. Thank you. Was the vocals a little better this time? Good, good.
Anybody have any questions or anything? Yes.
Last I remember, aren't those chickens called pot hens?
Probably are. Yeah. Hot hands.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, good. Okay. So this is another kind of banjo. This is called a gourd banjo because it's made from the body of a gourd. And a slave would have been able to build something like this on the plantation or farm where they were enslaved. And gourd banjos were pretty much at the standard in the late 1800s, or the late 1700s and early 1800s. There's even record of a man playing a gourd banjo on Gay Street in Knoxville in 1799. He was a freed black man by then already. So it might have looked like this, although gourds came in all different sizes and shapes, so it could have looked different. Some still had hair on the animal skin head, whatever. But this is an example of a banjo that doesn't have frets on it. So it is a fretless gourd banjo. And we're going to play a song called Shady Grove on it that slaves probably say, in this old minor tuning again. The air conditioning has tightened up the head a little bit in here, so the strings are a little bit different. And this is like the old banjos are made. These aren't geared pegs. They're called friction pegs. It's just wood sticking through wood. So. That'll be close enough. Because you don't know where to place your fingers exactly on a fretless banjo, right? So we often slide our fingers, and you can watch that technique because I often do that. So whatever note the singer is singing, I can slide through it. It's the note is in there somewhere. It sounds really good. So this is way down in F sharp, I think. Way down. Can everybody hear the banjo okay?
When I was a little boy, I wanted a farm night. Now I'm a little shady grove, you say she'll be my wife. Shady Grove, my little love, Shady Grove, you know. Shady Grove, my little love, I'm bound for the Shady Grove. Cheeks as red as a blooming rose, eyes are pretty as brown. She's the darling of my heart, the sweetest girl in town. Shady Grove, my little love, Shady Grove, you know. Shady Grove, my little love, I'm bound for the Shady Grove. I wish I had a big fine horse, trained to lead him on. Shady Shady Grove, just stay at home, feed him while I'm gone. Fly around my pretty little miss, fly around my shady, fly around my pretty little miss, you almost drive me crazy. Shady Grove, my little love, Shady Grove, you know. Shady Grove, my little love, I'm bound for the Shady Grove. A kiss from pretty little Shady Grove is sweeter than brandy wine, and there ain't no girl in this whole world who's prettier than mine. Shady Grove, my little love, Shady Grove, you know. Shady Grove, my little love, I'm bound for the Shady Grove.
So I don't know if you all have noticed the way that I'm playing banjo. I'm not playing it like you see contemporary banjo players play, right, with picks on their fingers and doing rolls. That was a technique perfected by Earl Scruggs in the 1940s. This method is we call it claw hammer today. A long time ago, they only called it the stroke method. But this is the method that slaves played their instruments in Africa, which got transmitted to this country in the late 1600s and early 1700s. They played this instrument on plantations and farms for over a century before our American ancestors became interested in it, and they taught them how to play this method. And it's the same method that they played back then. Claw hammer. So we owe the banjo and this technique both to the slave culture.
So mostly what we focus on is the music of the Southern Appalachian Mountains. And that's mostly European and African influenced music. But there were people here before that, and that was the Cherokee. And when the early settlers encountered the Cherokee, they labeled them a civilized tribe because the Cherokee were already living in structures made from saplings. They did not live in teepees. They were arranged in villages. They had gardens, they had farms, they had a whole system of government, and their government was run by the women because they were a very civilized tribe. Now, the clan mothers knew it was not good to marry within your own clan. And so they would hold clan gatherings a few times a year so that young men and women could meet each other. At those clan gatherings, they had sporting events, games, music, dancing. And once a young man found a girl he wanted to marry, he might go to one of the elder men and say, I have found a girl, help me build a flute. The elder might say, well, this is a long process, so you've got to be really sure. And the very first step is you have to go off into the woods, all alone, and bring back a long, straight piece of wood. And you bring it back, and we have to let it season and dry, and then we saw it in half and hollow it out, drill holes in just the right places, put it all back together. And then you have to learn to play it. And then you have to create a whole new song from your heart for the girl that you love. So this is just a sample of the Native American cording flute.
guarantee you she just made that up.
That was your song.
So I'm gonna retune again, back to another major key.
So one of the major components of the Appalachian music was the old ballads. And the ballads were often sung by the women while they worked and while they put the children to bed at night, while they did all their chores all the time. And they were usually done without instrumentation. But in these modern times, we like to add some instruments. So this is one from Scotland. It's called Mary of the Wild Moor. And it's a story about a young woman who gets pregnant, so her father sends her away. And she comes back with the child, but he won't or can't hear her, depends on which storyline you read about. So it's about consequences. A lot of the old ballads were about consequences. This is Mary of the Wild Moor. On a cold winter's night, as the winds blew across the wild moor, oh, Mary came wandering home with her child, till she came to her own father's door. Papa, Papa, she cried, come down and open the door, for the child in my arms will perish and die from the winds that blow across the wild moor. But the old man was deaf to the growls, not a sound of a voice could he hear, while the watchdog did howl, and the village bell tolled, the wind blew across the wild moor. Oh, how the old man must have felt when he came to the door the next morning, and he found her dead, but the child yet alive, clutched close to his dead mother's breast. Well, the old man in grief climbed the grave, and he begged to his mother went soon. And no one may say has lived there to this day, and the cottage has been left to ruin. Now the villagers point out the place where the ivy grows over the door, saying Mary died, but a fair village bride, it's true, from across the wide moor. Oh, from the winds that blow across the wide moor. Thank you. Air's a little dry in here. I'm used to that humidity, you know, that Tennessee humidity.
There's some doors right there.
Yeah. We're going to switch this next to. Okay. Oh, you want the other pick? So another part of the Appalachian music is some old spirituals. And a lot of the spirituals were religious in nature, but some of them were actually disguised as code about how to travel the Underground Railroad to freedom. This particular one is about hope and resistance. It's called Mary, Don't You Weep. And when you think of Mary, you think of either Jesus' mother Mary or Mary Magdalene. But this is about Mary, the sister of Lazarus.
If I could, I surely would stand on the rock where Moses stood, singing Pharaoh's army got drowned. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Now Mary wore 3 leaves of chain. Every lake was Jesus' name, singing Pharaoh's army got drowned. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, don't you moan. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, don't you moan. Singing Pharaoh's army got drowned. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. One of these nights about 12 o'clock, this old world's gonna reel and rock, singing Pharaoh's army got drowned. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Now when I get to heaven, gonna sing and shout, ain't nobody there for to turn me out, singing Pharaoh's army got drowned. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, don't you moan. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, don't you moan. A singing Pharaoh's army got drowned. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Brothers and sisters, don't you cry. Better times are coming by and by. Singing Pharaoh's army got drowned. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Now, old man Satan, he got mad. He lost the soul that he thought he done had. Singing Pharaoh's army got drowned. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, don't you moan. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, don't you moan. I sing in Pharaoh's army got drowned. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Moses stood on the Red Sea shore, smoking the water with the 2x4, singing Pharaoh's army got drowned. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Now God gave Noah the rainbow sign, no more water, the fire next time, singing Pharaoh's army got drowned. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, don't you moan. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, don't you moan. A singing Pharaoh's army got drowned. Oh, Mary, don't you weep.
All right. For the second fret, we're going to have to speed things up a little bit. We got time for about 3 more tunes.
stay a little late, would you?
All right, we'll do 4. We're gonna start with another sing-along. Yeah,
Okay. So,
yes, yeah. So, this song had been around a while, nobody knows where it came from. But in 1839, a fellow by the name of Cool White decided to publish it. And then it became very popularly sung during the Civil War, the Uncivil War. And then it became a song, well, we all learned in elementary school, but it's a Christmas song. And we're gonna let you all figure out why it's a Christmas song, but you know it. I'm not gonna tell you the words, y'all just sing along where you know the parts. As I was walking down the street, down the street, down the street, a pretty girl I chanced to meet, and we danced by the light of the moon. Oh, buffalo gals, won't you come out tonight, come out tonight, come out tonight. Buffalo gals, won't you come out tonight and dance by the light of the moon. I asked her if she'd have some talk, have some talk, have some talk. Her feet covered up the whole sidewalk, and we danced by the light of the moon. Oh, buffalo gals, won't you come out tonight, come out tonight, come out tonight. Buffalo gals, won't you come out tonight and dance by the light of the moon. I danced with a girl with a hole in her stocking, and her knees kept a knocking, and her hips kept a rocking. I danced with a girl with a hole in her stocking, and we danced by the light of the moon. Oh, buffalo gals, won't you come out tonight, come out tonight, come out tonight. Buffalo gals, won't you come out tonight and dance by the light of the moon. I'd like to make that gal my wife, gal my wife, gal my wife. We'd be happy all our lives, and we dance by the light of the moon. Oh, buffalo gals, won't you come out tonight, come out tonight, come out tonight. Buffalo gals, won't you come out tonight and dance by the light of the moon. Thank you, and thanks for singing along. So what makes that a Christmas song? It's a Wonderful Life, yes. Now the next question. How many times do parts of that song occur in that movie? 6. More than 6. Less than 10. Actually, we can't agree. I say 8, he says 9.
I think it's an unanswerable question myself.
So go home and watch the movie and count. Sometimes it's just like 4 or 5 notes, but you can catch that melody in there. So we do have a Christmas CD. That song's not on the Christmas CD. It's on another one. We saved real Christmas stuff for the Christmas CD. So, Liza Jane. All right, this is a tune that y'all have heard of Carl Sandburg, right? Historian, author, song collector, poet, goat farmer. He said that there were as many versions of Liza Jane as there are trees on the slopes of the Appalachians. So this is one of our versions of Liza Jane. I'm going to sing this one too. Hardest job I ever done was working on that train. Easiest job I ever done was loving Liza Jane. Poor little Liza Jane. Poor little Liza riding on that train. Liza Jane, she had a house 16 stories high. Every story in her house was filled with apple pie. Poor little Liza Jane.
Liza, riding on the train. Somebody stole my old hound dog, I wish they'd bring him back. Chased the big sow over the fence and the little one stirred the crack. Poor little Liza Jane. Poor little Liza, riding on the train. Nice little Liza to marry me, what do you reckon she said? Time enough to marry you, but everybody else is dead. Oh, poor little Liza Jane. Poor little Liza, she died on the train. Poor little Liza Jane. Poor little Liza, riding on the train.
Thank you. And that might have been like the very first song we learned.
No, Soldier's Joy was the first one.
Okay, so in that one.
Yeah.
It's like old man. Tunes that everybody learns.
Well, this next one is not one that everybody learns. We learned this next one, sorry I'm tuning here.
I can tell the story.
Okay.
We learned this one from the Carolina Chocolate Drops, an African-American old-time string band who unfortunately are not together anymore, but they've all gone their separate ways. But Brianna Gibbons has kept the name, I think, Carolina, or Chocolate Drops anyway. Anyway, and she's recently, I think, got a Grammy for an opera that she wrote.
Yeah.
She's really outstanding researcher and musician and everything. But anyway, we saw the Carolina Chocolate Drops at Miracle College one year, fell in love with them, and have several versions of their tunes on our CDs. And this is one of them called Cornbread and Butter Beans, and we cleaned it up to make it a little bit more family friendly and add a little bit of okra in there because that's what we like to do. And something else, we changed the melody just a little bit.
Yeah.
More note in the
I wanted the melody a little more interesting.
Yeah,
So, but we do have CDs over here for sale and also stickers. The stickers are free. Feel free to take one.
we want to see PTG stickers all over town.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cornbread and butter beans.
Yeah, we got to get closer so you can get the microphone on this.
3, 4.
Cornbread and butter beans, you across the table, eating pizza and love, and you as long as I am. Going for no chicken when the day is over. Ride you get crazy, and love again over. Goodbye, don't you cry, going to Mississippi. My dog can leave that home, married to my candy. Ding dong, sing a song, but take it to China. Cornbread and butter beans, and that's North Carolina. Cornbread, butter beans, and you across the table. Eating pizza and love, and you as long as I am able. Oh, going over to you when the day is over. Ride with you crazy, and love again over. Wearing shoes and drinking booze, going against the Bible. Never time will make me cry, cause it lots of trouble. Streetcars and whiskey bars, fits and burning women. Whoa, man, that's the end of their room within. Cornbread, sardines, and you across the table. Eating, peace, and love, as long as I am able. Oh, Lord, love what you do when the day is over. Drive you in praise, full of love, you know. I can't read, I don't care, education's awful. Raising cash, writing checks, all to be unknown. Silk coats and furry clothes are just waste of money. I can see how glad you get mad at my yeah. Cornbread and sardines, and you across the table. Eating peace and love, and you as long as I am able. Going for love, just when the day is over. Ride you and praise, full of love, you know. Cornbread, sardines, and you across the table. Eating peace and love, and you as long as I am able. Going for love, just when the day is over. Ride you and praise, full of love, you know.
Thank you all for coming out tonight and for joining us. This has been really a lot of fun for us, seeing some familiar faces here, and you've even got a cousin out there in the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us here at this wonderful venue.
I don't know if you were planning on doing this or not. Could you do the one about the devil and the farmer?
Seriously? Okay. We hadn't planned on that, but I can do that.
And then we'll finish off with one more. That'd be great.
This is actually our most requested song, but we're never sure of exactly where it's safe to sing this song, because I sing it the way it was sung. And I'm not shy, in case y'all hadn't figured that out. And I will sing most anything, but there was a version of this that came out of Cobb County, Tennessee. I will not sing that version. It's a bit much for me even, but the version I sing is really close to the one that was sung in Cades Cove and one in North Carolina. It's kind of a combination of the two. It's based on a folk tale that's over 1,000 years old. And this folktale was prevalent all over Asia and Europe. And the song itself is probably 600 years old. And it's called The Farmer's Cursed Wife. We've got actually 2 different versions of it on 2 different CDs. But it's a conversation between a farmer and the devil. And in good folk tradition, I took this and placed it in Boogertown. Better get a drink. I might have to stop halfway through and get a drink. It's only water. I know. Okay. The Farmer's Cursed Wife. There was an old farmer lived in Boogertown. If he ain't dead, he's still plowing the ground and singing ba, ba, diddle-a, ba, diddle-o, diddle all day. Well, the devil came up to the man at the plow, said, I've come to take one of your family right now and singing ba, ba, diddle-a, ba, diddle-o, diddle all day. Well, please don't take my eldest son, for there's a lot of work on the farm to be done, singing ba, ba, diddle-a, ba, diddle-o, diddle all day. Well, it ain't your sons nor your daughters I crave, but your old golden wife, and her I'll take a singing ba, ba, diddle-a, ba, diddle-o, diddle all day. Well, welcome, sweet Satan, from the bottom of my heart. I hope you and her never ever shall part, singing ba, ba, diddle-a, ba, diddle-o, diddle all day. Well, he stuffed her down in an old tote sack, and he looked like a peddler carrying his pack, singing ba, ba, diddle-a, ba, diddle-o, diddle all day. Then he carried her down to the forks of the road, said, get down, woman, you're a hell of a load, singing ba, ba, diddle-a, ba, diddle-o, diddle all day. Then he carried her down to the gates of hell, said, stoke up the fire, boys, roast her well, singing bye, bye, diddle-la, bye, bye, diddle-lo, diddle all day. One little demon a dragging his chain, she picked it up and smattered out his brains and sang bye, bye, diddle-la, bye, bye, diddle-lo, diddle all day. 6 little demons sitting on the wall. She picked up a poker and she thrashed them all, singing bye, bye, diddle-la, bye, bye, diddle-lo, diddle all day. Then she grabbed old Satan by the hair of the head, said, I'd have done killed you if you weren't done dead, singing bye, bye, diddle-la, bye, bye, diddle-lo, diddle all day. Then the littlest demon spoke up and said, you better take her back, Daddy, we'll all be dead, singing bye, bye, diddle-la, bye, bye, diddle-lo, diddle all day. Well, the farmer saw him coming and he bit his tongue. He lit for the woods in a flat-out run, singing bye, bye, diddle-la, bye, bye, diddle-lo, diddle all day. And he was heard to say as he went over the hill, if Satan won't have her, I'll be damned if I will, singing bye, bye, diddle-la, bye, bye, diddle-lo, diddle all day. Well, here's your ma'am, and she sure is well, but I'll tell you what, she's tore up hell, singing bye, bye, diddle-la, bye, bye, diddle-lo, diddle all day. And her children said, Lord, we must be cursed, for she went to hell and she came back worse, singing bye, bye, diddle-la, bye, bye, diddle-lo, diddle all day. Well, this just goes to show women are better than men, because we can go to hell and come back again singing bye, bye, diddle-la, bye, bye, diddle-lo, diddle all day. Oh, thank you. That's a fun one to sing. I mean, I love the old ballads, and I love when everybody's dead at the end, but that one's fun.
Okay, time for our last tune. This one is called, we call it Sugar Babe on our CD, but it started out as a work song by slaves who were building levees along the Mississippi River a long time ago. And they called it Sweet Thing. And through the folk tradition, it changed a little bit, became known as Sugar Babe, which is what we call it. A little bit later, it changed a little more, became known as the White Man's Blues. And even later, it's a very popular tune in country circles and old-time circles these days. It became what you're going to hear now. So if you know parts of it,
sing along, please. You get lined out and fall, honey, honey. You get lined out and fall, baby. You get lined out and fall, we'll go down to the front and hall, honey, baby mine. Gotta come to man when the sack comes back, honey, honey. Gotta come to man when the sack comes back, baby. Gotta come to man when the sack comes back. Not all the problems you can back, honey, baby mine. What you gonna do when the creek runs dry, honey, honey? What you gonna do when the creek runs dry, baby? What you gonna do when the creek runs dry? Sit on the bank and drink moonshine, honey, baby mine. What you gonna do when the beats are gone, honey, honey? What you gonna do when the beats are gone, baby? What you gonna do when the beats are gone? Sit on the bank and no more wrong, honey, baby mine. Sure asks a lot of questions, doesn't she? Well, here's one more question for you, honey. Bring it on. What you gonna do when the weather gets cold, honey? What you gonna do when the weather gets cold, babe? What you gonna do when the weather gets cold? Lay out the groundhog and find you a hole. Oh, baby, mine. You get lined out and fall, honey. I want to snuggle. You get lined out and fall, baby.
You can line it out with cold, we'll go down to the ground and home, honey, baby mine. One more time, everybody sing. Help us out now. You can line it out with cold, honey, honey. You can line it out with cold, baby. Hooray! You can line it out with cold, we'll go down to the prom at home, honey, baby mine.
Thank y'all very much, yes.
So, are the music and the accompanying stories handed down or published?
It's a mixture of everything, actually. To a large part, this music was just kind of frozen in time over here, or it just kept evolving as folk music. But it always had a history. But back in the folk revivals of the 50s, 60s, and 70s, people went out back to these people who were still playing fiddle, who learned these tunes from their grandfathers who were in the Civil War and stuff. And they began to write it down, and write the histories to it down, and things like that. So that a lot of that is published. A lot of it is not. Some of this, we still don't even know where some of these tunes come from still.
But there were song catchers in the late 18 and early 1900s who went around collecting this music and writing down the histories. So people like Alan Lomax, Carl Sandburg, Cecil Sharp, Maud Carpalis, the lady in Kentucky whose name I can't remember. So a lot of this was written down. We just do a lot of research. But there's a really good movie about it called The Songcatcher.
Yeah. So if you've ever seen the movie Cold Mountain also, it's a tragic Civil War movie, but the music in that is very authentic. We are going to be here for a while. If you want to come up and talk to us, whatever, ask us more questions, check out our CDs over there or something, but it's wonderful playing music for y'all tonight. Thank you very much for being so supportive. Thank you.